Hey guys, welcome back to MFO. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. Really do appreciate it. Today we're going to talk about fuel prices and how you can save money on your fuel costs that go into your boat. I can't tell you what it's like, and I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. You pull in, by the time you end up filling up your truck and your boat, we're spending $200 or more just to put gas in our truck and boats to go out on a day of fishing. And boy, I tell you what, if you're going across country driving and you're fishing 3-5 days in a row for tournaments, fuel costs are a huge expense. So today I'm going to give you about 3 tips about how you can save up to 50% of the fuel costs related to your boat. Stick around, guys. Welcome back to Mark Fisher Outdoors, everybody. I'm Mark Fisher. Yeah, I'm going to give you 3 tips on how you can save about 50% on your fuel costs. Unfortunately, none of those tips are, hey, if you go to that corner gas station, they've got fuel for half price. That's not what I'm talking about. But I got 3 things that you can do that'll increase the effectiveness of your motor and make you burn about 50% less fuel. So I'm going to give you these 3 tips. The third one is by far the one that will save you the most. So stick around for that last one. But the first one is really, it applies to guys who do more where their boat is in the water a lot, where they're not storing their boat out of the water, but they store their boat or keep their boat tied up to a pier or in a boat slip or something like that. You guys need to be aware of the fact that when you keep your boat in the water, it lets the bottom of your boat kind of build algae on it and things like that. And to be honest, that is a huge issue in terms of creating friction and slowing your boat down. Not only does it slow your boat down, but it creates more drag and therefore you burn more fuel. So if you happen to keep your boat in the water, pull it out every once in a while, wash the bottom of that boat down, and make sure that you're keeping that fiberglass smooth and glassy so that you are reducing the amount of friction. And this, quite honestly, also goes for, it's not just barnacles on the bottom and things like that, but also if you've got scratches and nicks in your fiberglass. If you've got damage to the hull of your boat, those things are going to slow you down and create drag, which is going to decrease your fuel efficiency. The second tip that I have has to do with weight, and it's along the same lines, and I'm terribly guilty of this, is if you can get away with not storing a ton of things in your boat, decreasing the weight in your boat will increase your fuel efficiency. And that's a big one. You know, if you're carrying around everything, including the kitchen sink, all the time when you don't need to, you're making long runs and you've got things in your boat that you don't need, you are burning fuel that you don't need to burn. So decreasing the weight of your boat by pulling some of those things out that you don't need will improve not only your speed, but also your fuel efficiency. Now, the next tip, and this is the biggest one, has to do with your speed. We all know that we buy these big fancy boats so that we can run full bore all the way across the lake and get to the fish first, and I understand that. But the reality is, and I'm not sure everybody knows this, but running your bass boat at 6,000 RPM and going full bore compared to backing it down just to 4,500 RPM, that difference of 1,500 RPM is literally costing you 50% of your fuel efficiency. I'm going to say that again, guys. Instead of going at 6,000 RPM, which is pretty much full bore, and you slow that down to 45 RPM, which really is still going probably 55 miles an hour or so, that can save you 50% of your fuel efficiency. You can get twice as much distance out of the fuel that you have if you back your speed down just to 3/4 instead of full bore. When you've got that thing pegged down, you are pouring gas through that motor. So that is a huge issue. And again, whether you look at that and say, hey, I'm not going to do that during tournament day, but I'm going to do it during practice day, or whether you look at it and say, hey, you know what, I'm just out fun fishing. Instead of cranking it down and going 65, 70 miles an hour, I'm going to back it down to 55 or 50 and just put it at 3/4. That can save you a ton on fuel. And by the way, while we're talking about that, go and check out my video about using your hydraulic jack plate and your trim properly, because trimming your motor at the most efficient space is another technique to save fuel, because if you trim that motor up just right where it's supposed to be, you're being more fuel efficient in that regard as well. So guys, keep the bottom of your boat clean, keep it free from chips and nicks and dings. Make sure that you are not hauling around a bunch of weight that you don't need to be. And if you can, instead of going full bore, back it down to 3/4 of a throttle, and you'll be more than 50% more fuel efficient than you're being prior to that. Those are my tips. Save yourself some money. Guys, I appreciate you watching. We'll see you again tomorrow on another episode, Mark Fisher Outdoors. Take care, everybody.